everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Kira, and today we are going to be doing my May reading wrap up and also updating my reading journal. So this is the second time I filmed this intro part. I filmed everything yesterday and then one of my video clips got deleted. So later on in this video, I have the footage from yesterday that wasn't corrupted. So I will change mid-video just so you know that's what's happening. So I read 16 books this month. I had a really great reading month actually. I started out the month by reading a bunch of different genres, but towards the end, I kind of got slotted into a lot of thrillers and thriller like mystery books. So I burnt myself out a little bit and I'm currently working on getting myself out of the book slump that caused. But otherwise, I did have a really great month. I had quite a few 5-star reads actually, and I kind of read all over the place. I read lots of thrillers, some mysteries, cozy mysteries, so sci-fi, and some lighter romances and cozy fantasies. So I'm going to try to block these as much as possible into categories. But for the first category, I'm going to start with my mysteries. And the first one in this category is The Gardener's Plot by Deborah Benoit. And I really enjoyed this. I should have read it a lot earlier because while this is a mystery, it has some cozy mystery elements. Our main character moves back to a town, back into her grandmother's house, just looking for a simpler life, and she really likes gardening, so she gets hired basically to be an assistant to this community garden. And on the day of opening, a body is found in one of the plots and the director of the garden is missing. So she tries to find what happened. She's very determined. She has this wonderful friend who lives next door that she grew up with, and they both team together. As opposed to a lot of cozy mysteries, this one is slightly darker. They do describe some things that happened with the murders, and so I think it's a little bit of a darker version. But if you like cozy mysteries and you want to dip your toe into other mysteries, I think this is a really great book to start with. I thought the twists were really great, and I did kind of guess who it was halfway through the book, but the author did a really great job of changing my mind as we went. I really enjoyed this one. I thought this was like a 5-star in terms of mystery books. And the next 4 books I read were from 2 different authors. So I read the first 2 books in 2 series. The first series being the Shady Hollow series by Juno Black. I've had this one for a little bit. It is following animal characters, and I thought that might be a little bit silly. I didn't really know how it would be like an adult mystery, but it really is. You end up really liking it. It's about this town of Shady Hollow. There are all these different animals, and you follow Vera Vixen, who is a journalist character who is investigating a murder of Toad that's very grumpy, did not make any friends in town, but she wants to investigate it. That's never happened in their town before. And I think the animal element actually ended up adding a different challenge to everything, because certain animals just aren't capable of committing these, and other ones have a lot of different ways that they can commit these murders. They also have different abilities, like the owl has different abilities. Certain people are up at night, certain people aren't. So it was just a lot to have to like weed out the murderers, and it just kept me guessing. It was a lot darker than I thought it was in certain areas, and then other areas just lighter and happy. Deputy is a bear, and his name is Orville, and he like brings a new definition to like a teddy bear character, and I just loved him. But I still really enjoyed it, to the point where I went to Cold Clay, which is the next in the series. The local coffee shop is run by a moose named Joe, and they find moose bones that are possibly associated with his missing wife. And so there's just this element of one of her best friends being accused of some things and trying to investigate it, the whole town really loving him and coming together as a community. Shady Hollow is great for summer, late summer, and then Cold Clay would be great to read during autumn, but you can read it at any time. I will say for Cold Clay, I pegged who it was very early on in the book. I would say like 20 or 30% of the way in. But I still really enjoyed the rest of it. I enjoyed seeing more of the town. I enjoyed seeing Vera and Orville. They're so cute. I think that was fun part of this story. So I'm still going to read the series. It's not a priority series for me, but I still really enjoy it, and I think I will start to collect the books as I find them. But it was a fun read. It was fun. And the next 2 books that I have, which I absolutely adored, was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Some people were encouraging me to read it earlier, in the comments, so I did. I listened to this on audio and I read it, and both of them are amazing. Perfect. The audio was just great. It follows Cooper's Chase, which is a retirement village, a retirement community, and there is a group there that meet on Thursdays to investigate cold cases. They just really like murder, and they're so smart. Part of this is their friendship, which is beautiful, but also that they're so willing to like play up how old they are to get what they want. They are so good at figuring out information, getting around people. They kind of play the local police a little bit like fiddles, but I love those police characters as well. The local inspectors, I guess, they're called DCI, Donna DeFreitas and Chris Hudson. I really loved them. They're very lovable characters, and they kind of just, they know they're being manipulated towards like the middle, but they still just go on with it because they really like them. And Elizabeth, a super spy or something she was in her past life, she'll just casually drop things that happened. Judith is just like this little sweetheart, but she likes to date, she likes to flirt, and it's fun, but she's so sweet and everyone loves her. Ron is this kind of like big tough union laborer that's fought for a lot of people's rights, and Ibrahim is just a sweet man that was a psychologist. But all of them worked together, and it was just really beautiful. There's definitely discussions and themes of getting older, what that means with your family, what challenges older people face in terms of like health. And I loved seeing, you know, Stephen and Elizabeth's relationship despite what's happening. Bogdan is a really fun character too. It's just, you end up really loving every single character, and I don't feel like they focus too much on one, but I definitely think Elizabeth is like the ringleader. And so this is being made into a series, and Helen Mirren is Elizabeth, which is perfect, just perfect. And I'm very excited to watch it, but I gave it 5 stars. It was just great. It was a really fun read. So I read The Man Who Died Twice, which is the second book in the series. It's not too long after the first book. I think it also shows more challenges when it comes to getting older, and the meaning of The Man Who Died Twice was played on multiple times. I think Richard Osman is just very clever tying things in and having a lot of double meanings to things. The investigation and murders themselves in these ones are wonderful. I love to see it, but it's really just about the people. It just adds another element to it, and they're just so smart. Having said that, I did love the Thursday Murder Club better than this one, but I still love to see more of their past. I love to see how they intertwine, how they grew even at this age. It's a really fun series, and I definitely want to read more of it. So now we will switch to my next category, and I will be different because we're going back in time for me. All right, so my next category are my thrillers. I did read a couple of thrillers this month just because they came up in my Libby, but the first one was Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintura. I've talked about this quite a few times, but I have had this on hold for over a year. So when it came up, I immediately read it. I was painting the basement, so I actually just listened to it, and I really liked it. I think I gave it like a 4.5 stars. Heard in the past that audio was really the way to read this book, just because it is like a podcast form. It follows our main character, who was found wandering, covered in the blood of her best friend, and her best friend was later found dead. So literally everyone in town thinks that she's guilty of that murder, but they can't prove it. She has no memory of it. So she moves away, and then she comes back because a very popular podcaster has been investigating the murder and tries to get her involved with investigating it. So it's between her POV, and she doesn't know what happened, and then also like him actually doing the podcast. And they did like music to it, and there was a big production, so it really made a difference, just the different tones in progressing the story. And it was definitely very interesting. It was somewhat found footage-y to me, and it just kind of had that element, which is why I liked it. And I really liked how, as the podcast was happening in real time, she was listening to it and then helping him investigate, try to remember things. I thought the ending was very interesting, and it was very believable. She's an unreliable narrator because she doesn't know what happened, or at least she's telling you that she doesn't know what happened. So I thought the progression of it was very well done. I did peg who it was, but it was later on in the story, so I thought it was fun. I do think that had I read it, I don't know if it would have been like as highly rated for me, but I still thought it was a really great thriller. There was good twist to it. I could have done without any sex scenes in it. I just don't like sex scenes in thrillers. So I kind of just wanted to like skip through that, especially I don't like listening to them. It's just a thing with me. That's why I can't listen to romance like audiobooks. I just don't want to do it. I just get awkward, I guess. Other than that, I really liked it. So later on in the month, I did read The Last Time I Lied. Apparently I read books about lying this month, but that was by Riley Sager. I was told this one is great for summer, and I almost put it on my summer TBR, but I got the opportunity to read it through my Libby beforehand. I did listen to this one on audio as well. Riley Sager is a hit or miss for me. I have read Home Before Dark and I liked it. I thought it was a good kind of like Amityville horror-ish book. I did read Final Girls and I really didn't like it. So this one I gave a round of 3 stars. It is about our main character Emma, who went to this girl's summer camp when she was younger, and her 3 cabin mates disappeared, and she gave testimony at that point that called into question some people there, and they were related to the camp. So later on, some of those people and their family members are reopening the camp and they invite her back, and so she returns to try and figure out what happened. I guess I was kind of bored. The beginning was strong, the middle just dragged on, and it was really hard for me to get through. Honestly, I just wanted to put it down, fast forward, and I just can't really do that. So the ending was, I would say, a little bit satisfying, and then I feel like the last chapter was where the most like exciting thing happened. Definitely waited for the payoff there, but the middle was just, it didn't surprise me all that much. Her whole thing is that she doesn't want to lie anymore, but she's like constantly lying or just omitting things. And I also didn't think like the relationships that she had in that book was healthy, and at the end that they should have been together just because of everything that she did. It's just like not good. So I don't know, I didn't hate it. It was talked up more than it ended up being, so I probably wouldn't read it. I don't know about Riley Sager. I don't know, I might try Lock Every Door, but it's not like priority for me. But the next book that I have is my sci-fi book. So this month I read The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which is the first book in the Wayfarer series, and I gave it 5 stars. I was nervous about it and I didn't expect it to be so highly rated for me, but people, because I had said I'd liked Murderbot, thought that I would like the series, so I really appreciate everyone that suggested it in the comments. There's quite a few people. So that came up, and I did read that as a mixture of audio and Kindle, and I loved both of them. I think both of them are just really well done. The synopsis says it follows one character who joins this crew, this Wayfarer crew. Their job is to punch holes so that ships can travel through them. They basically like make wormholes to really distant planets. But honestly, you followed her a little bit, but I think that the other characters were far more upfront. So it's just following the entire crew, and it somewhat reminded me of Firefly, which is one of my favorite TV series. And it's just this rundown ship, but everyone has such a unique personality. I really love Sissix, who is our navigator, and she's this different reptilian race. It's almost like little slices of life, little snippets. You're following the chef and his background, and I sort of pictured him as like the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland, but he's so nice in this one. You got to go to all these different stations because as they're traveling, you just see these little things that happen because it takes place over a year. It's just spread out. And I just really loved the crew connections. It's more about friendship and love and family. There are some action scenes to it, but it's not the main plot of the story, and it was just very unique, which is why I'm so intrigued to read A Psalm for the Wild-Built. And I definitely will be reading the rest of the series and trying out more of her writing, but I highly recommend that one, especially if you like Murderbot. It is different, but it's still similar enough. You would really like it. So my next category I think I'm going to talk about is my horror. So last year I read almost exclusively horror and thrillers. I was just in a mood for some reason, but this month I was somewhat feeling it. So I read 3 horror books this month. The first one is Mountain of the Dead by Jeremy Bates. It is about the Dyatlov Pass incident. If you're wanting a very creepy story, the actual reality of the Dyatlov incident is very interesting, but I have been looking for books about it, and Mountain of the Dead is about that. Our main character, who is writing a book about it, and so he's trying to go up to the Dyatlov Pass and investigate. So he goes up into the mountains. He hires some people to go with him. So I thought that was very interesting. I liked the first half of the book a lot more than I liked the second. I thought the reasons for it was interesting, not unexpected. I really like Jeremy Bates' writing. I read Mosquito Man and I read Merfolk, and I did enjoy those. But this one, I just thought he put a little bit too much into it. I can't say anything without giving it away. I didn't really like how he took it. It just wasn't really scary to me. And then when they ended up in a certain area, he added another threat that I just didn't find believable whatsoever. It was just kind of ridiculous, and it took me out of it a little bit. Overall, enjoyed it. I didn't like the main character very much. I didn't really care about him, and I thought he was really reckless with people. I just didn't think he deserved the friends that he had going there and all that. So I wrote in my book about almost a 4 stars, but I definitely will reduce it to a 3 just because having sat on it, I don't like it quite as much. It's not my favorite Jeremy Bates book, but it wasn't too bad. So the next horror book that I read is Bishop by Candice Nola. She is an indie author, and so I like to support indie authors, and so when I heard about this last year, I got it, and I had the intention of reading it during fall, but I just never got to it. I just decided to pick it up on a whim, and I ended up really liking it. I was surprised by it. An uncle is going to look for his missing sister and his niece, who went missing during a hiking trip. And so he gets up there and he hires a local tracker. I don't really want to give too much away because I was surprised by where it went. Some parts of it I just thought were a little bit crazy and ridiculous and a little bit gory, but I thought it was a good fast read and good creature feature. They added multiple things in there that I wasn't expecting, and I thought it was really creative. So there is a second one in the series that I did get on Kindle Unlimited that I think I might read at some point. They're very short, but I still really enjoyed them. I think it's a good read if you like woods and creatures. The author was very good. She was very good at creating a lot of tension. I'm really worried for some of the characters, so I enjoy that. Sometimes the books aren't scary to me and I just don't feel any tension or any, there's threat to the characters, but not like as much as you would think. And the next book that I read was The Copper Man by Deborah Castaneda. I've talked about her before, but she's one of my favorite horror authors. She writes the Dark Earth Rising series, and I think she has some of the best creature features. I don't think this was quite my favorite of the series. I definitely like Devil's Shallows and A Dark Earth Rising Tide the most. But this one was intriguing to me just because it was in a cave. I grew up in Arizona, and there's a lot of ghost towns and ghost mining. There was a lot of mining in that area, so I always found it a little bit fascinating. And this is in Tribulation Gulch, where our main character returns with her daughter to do a story on a mine reopening. Years before, the Copper Man had killed a number of children, and one of those was her brother, and she's documenting the mine reopening, and a lot of things start to happen. And I thought the visuals of this, initially being in the mine, the claustrophobia, the fact that people are seeing some things and some stuff happens related to the past, was very fun, and there were some creepy moments to it. I liked her main character, I liked her daughter, and then she has an old flame that comes in. I thought the ending wasn't really that scary, what happened at the ending. A lot of her other books had a lot of higher stakes, and I thought the tension leading up to it, there was a really great payoff. I thought the tension leading up to it and then the payoff that she had wasn't super scary. I guess it could be for some people, but I just wasn't there wasn't the stakes that I wanted there to be, and I didn't really feel the threat as I did for the other characters in the other books that I read. But otherwise I did like it. I just thought the ending was a little bit anticlimactic, so a little bit of a letdown, but not too bad. So my final 2 categories are adventure thrillers, and then I have a couple of cozy fantasies or lighter-hearted romances. So I'll do my romances and cozy fantasy put together. First one that I had was Garden Spells, which is Sarah Addison Allen. I would say this is cozy fantasy just because there are magical elements to it, but it is a bit of a contemporary book as well. It is about the Waverly family who grew up in this house that has this magical tree that just kind of wants to be involved and have everyone involved in life and throws apples at people. Her grandmother raised them after their mom had a lot of issues and left, and one of the sisters wants out of the town so badly, and the Waverlys make things, they bake things that have magical herbs and plants in them that help them. She didn't want anything to do with that, so she left, and she eventually gets herself into a situation with a very bad man, and so she escapes with her daughter because she wants to be different from her mother, and comes back to her sister who has stayed and been a Waverly and really embraced it and just loved it. And this book is more about the sisters and their relationship, and they didn't get along when they were younger, and it's just about them maturing and figuring out what they want in life, but also developing this sisterly relationship that they didn't have just because of everything that happened, but also just getting over trauma. So I would say this book is a little bit heavier. There's quite a lot that happens to the different characters, but I really loved their relationship and how it progressed, and that it was a really beautiful story, and I really, really enjoyed reading it. And the second book that I read, which was a complete surprise to me, was Starting Over at Acorn Cottage by Kate Forster. So this was a complete whim. I got it through my Kindle Unlimited, and I'd seen the cover and I just thought it looked very spring and summer to me. And then when I read the descriptions, I thought it was going to be a different kind of book for me to read. And I ended up giving it 5 stars and really, really loving it. Our main character has a very bad breakup but decides to use it to her advantage, and on a drunken whim buys a cottage, fulfilling this like lifelong dream that she'd always wanted to have her own cottage and just live a simpler life. And so she moves to this town, and she realizes that the cottage that she bought was not in the condition that it was in the pictures. And so she has to hire a contractor, and this contractor travels around in this vehicle that is like an RV bus that is made to look like a cottage. And so she hires him, and he comes with his daughter Pansy. It's a lot of her and him getting to know one another, her getting through trauma, and also getting to know the people in town. Tassie was one of my absolute favorites. She's this older lady, and she just is really, really warm-hearted. She was a former school teacher. She knows when people are hurting, and she really does all she can in her own way to help them. I cried a lot during this book, and I never do that. It was a very moving book. I loved her relationship that develops with Pansy, and the romance in it was really lovely too. And I just think it was just really, really well done. Everything was so believable, and they do have darker things in this book. There's some things that happened that they have to get through, but I think that it was beautiful. I just loved it, and I really, really am excited to read more of her books. All right, so my last category is adventure thrillers. So I read 3 adventure thrillers this month. The first one was Ghost Canyon by Anthony M. Strong. It's one of the John Decker books. I got it on Kindle Unlimited, and it's again a mining book. That's kind of why I read The Copper Man, just because I was feeling creepy mine books for some reason. It's a very niche little mood that I was in. But this is about John Decker, who is sent out to this mine where they found some skeletons, and then people started to die. I thought the creature was very different. A little bit too short. I think his other books were a little bit more fleshed out, and there was definitely more of a progression and tension to the climax at the end. I think it could have done with a little bit more, because the ending was very abrupt and I didn't find it as scary as usual, but I still think it was a good payout, and it was definitely a different creature that you don't normally see. So I liked it. And the next book, which I absolutely love, and I'm going to be reading the 5th book in the series, is Thunderhead by Preston and Child. This is actually the prequel to the Nora Kelly series. This is about Nora, who gets a letter from her long missing father that leads to this, almost like this Atlantis village that is found in New Mexico or in Utah. So she puts together an expedition and heads out to this site that she found in a letter from her father. And quite a lot happens in the meantime. The middle of this book was a little bit slow when they were getting to where they were supposed to go, but there are definitely enemies following them, and I thought it was very, very interesting. And as I've said in the past, I really like archaeology, anthropology, and I grew up in the Southwest, so I grew up learning a lot about the local Native American tribes. the Pueblo Indians, the Anasazi, and this one has a lot of information. They do a lot of really strong research. Douglas Preston's actually spent quite a lot of time with local Southwestern tribes, and he actually has a book about it where he talks about that experience called Talking to the Ground, and I actually want to read that. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but now I'm interested in reading it. But they talk a lot about the different types of pottery and everything. I might be making it sound boring, but it's just really well done and woven in, and it's very interesting to me. I mean, it's a fiction book, so they take a little bit of liberties when it comes to the ending and some of the things that happened. I thought everything was very believable and how they described it at the end and wove everything together. I expected a couple of things to happen, but the rest I didn't. But it just reminded me why I love that series in particular. So Bad Blood is coming out. I think that's the 5th in the series, and that's coming out June 3rd, so I'm supposed to be getting it tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. And the last book in this category, and one of the last books I read in the month, was Fathomless by Greg Beck. He's also one of my favorite adventure thriller writers, and I have wanted to read Fathomless for such a long time. I love ocean horror and I love ocean thrillers, and because of that I've had a lot of people in my comments ask for a video, so I will be posting an ocean thriller video. But this is one that I wanted to read for a long time. So this follows Kate Granger, who is an evolutionary biologist, and she is following a place where her grandfather went missing years before, and she eventually gets this expedition together. They go in a submersible and so much happens. I love the whole, it's not really like journey to the center of the earth because it's not the center of the earth, but I still love that sort of element to this book. I don't get scared in books a lot, but there was one point in this book where I was laying in bed and I like sat up and I closed the book really fast because it got really tense and scary, and I was like, oh no, oh no. And then I picked it up immediately because I really wanted to see what happened. But just the ocean is like the element of not knowing what's beneath you and not being able to see it, but they can see you sort of thing is super scary. And this one, it's probably like the best book that I found that has like a big creature. In the book summary, they talk about a megalodon, and that would just be terrible. Like, it takes sharks to a new level, but this one is just done really well, particularly in the caves. But I still thought the payoff was really great. There are 2 other books in the series, so this is like a 3-for-1. So there's Abyss and Leviathan, and I do want to read those ones, and I might get them this summer. I did cave and buy this one. I have wanted to read it for such a long time. Summer's the perfect time for ocean horror. Again, a fun time. Overall, I had a really great month. I think I had a lot of really strong 5-star reads. I had some more that was like a 3, but honestly, it was just all over the place, and it really kept me moving, and I just need to continue that momentum into June. I had a hard time deciding which was my favorite. I really loved A Long Way to the Small and Angry Planet. I loved Starting Over at Acorn Cottage, and I really loved Thursday Murder Club, Fathomless. I thought they were all really great books, but ultimately I really loved the Thursday Murder Club. I had such a fun time. So I think I'm gonna go with Thursday Murder Club as my favorite for this month. So now I'm going to go into my bullet journal. I have been updating it throughout the month, or else it would take forever to get through this. I just have a couple of things to fill in, and then like my genres and my page count. So we'll go do that, and then we'll come back. All right, so there is my reading journal spreads. I had a really fun time with my May journal. Let me know in the comments if you read any of these or you think of any other books that I might like that are similar to these. I have gotten a lot of great recommendations that I took advantage of this month, as you can see. Again, keep an eye out if you like ocean horror and thriller. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I've had a lot of people actually ask me for it. So I'm going to be posting that tomorrow, and I think probably a cozy reading vlog next week. So look for that. Otherwise, I hope you all have a really wonderful week and the start of your summer, and I will see you next time. Bye.